Anything in particular before we get started? All right, I'll take the silence as I'm good. Okay. I'm just trying to, we haven't met yet, Trevor, but hey, I'm just trying to get them nice and warmed up for you. They're a little shy at first.
How's it going?
It's going good. TJ told me a lot about you, but I just know we haven't met.
No, I'm
definitely excited
I'm
to
learning
have
more
you here.
about what y'all got going, and here to help out any way I can.
Awesome.
Hey, Trevor, how's
All
it going?
right.
Nice to meet you.
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you making time and hopping on here with us and educating us about some land stuff here.
I'm here to learn too, and what y'all are doing, and how I can help, and everything else, man, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. We're all here learning. I love it.
Always. There's something to learn from everyone, even if it's what not to do.
Yeah, that's very true. Give me one second. No internet here. I'll be right back with you.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a couple of like another minute or so, and we'll get started here. But all right,
Hello,
guys, no questions. Hey, who's that? Manuel?
Manuel, yes.
Manuel.
I don't have the link on my email. That's why I'm on my phone, on my cell phone. So I'm just wondering if somebody can send me the link to my email.
Sure. Are you on the Facebook group?
Yeah, I believe so.
You hesitated. You got to join our Facebook group first. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, what's it? I can't see your email. I'm sorry. Can anybody else see it? I think you have it there.
MB Home Solutions.
MB Home Solutions. Okay.
At gmail.com.
Okay. Does somebody actually have the link?
Yeah, I can.
I'll send you the email then. Because I use the number to get in. MB.
Yeah, I can send them the link.
Solutions, and that was at Gmail, right?
Yeah, gmail.com.
mbhomesolutions@gmail.com. Okay, thanks, Chung, Cody. All right, with the link. Boom, perfect. All right. So, TJ, do you want to introduce Travis for us tonight?
Trevor, my man. So
Trevor, I'm sorry.
Trevor went to high school with my wife, and a few weeks ago, my wife goes, "Hey, have you heard of my friend Trevor?" I was like, "What does he do?" No. And she started showing me YouTube videos, and he is killing it in the land industry, selling land, buying, selling land all over Texas, and I think 6 other states. Is that right, Trevor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But mostly Texas and Oklahoma.
Texas and Oklahoma's main areas. And he's done over 40 million in the last 4 years. Is that correct?
We bought and sold 40 million in the last probably 5 or 6 years. We bought 4.5 million in the last 3 months.
Man, so awesome. So just mind blowing.
It's all relative, guys, right? Like it's you see all these big numbers in the clickbait shit and stuff like that, but we'll dive into it here in a minute.
But still, it's been a privilege getting to know Trevor. Just he has a lot of knowledge about land that it's just one of those niche markets that's tough. I was telling him the other day, we come across land all the time, and we don't. We have a tough time trying to this. And when Trevor said that he would be around, no, till we get someone like Trevor that knows what he's doing on there. So Trevor, why don't you start out by just kind of telling us how'd you get started in this industry, and how you began, what your story looks like.
Yeah, so I grew up on 4,800 acres in between San Angelo and Miles, Texas. I grew up in Miles, Texas, a little small school where I met Kira. Well, went to school with her from 3rd grade all the way through. But my dad, uncle, and granddad started buying. We're a ranching family. I guess we started in 1920 out in Sterling City, West Texas. But my dad, uncle, and granddad they did their first big subdivide in 1989. And that was 50,000 acres in Reagan County, Texas, out way west. Which is funny because you're like, oh my gosh, how much was that worth? And they bought it for like $37 an acre. Like, it's all relative, man. It's all relative, you know.
Sure.
So, but yeah. So I was in the oil field for quite a long time. I've done houses, I've done small commercial deals, I've done small apartments. I was always too smart for them because my family, because rich people don't do land. Rich people do, apartments and commercial buildings and all this other stuff. First of all, that's bullshit because that's where they put all their money, right? To build active money to do it, they have to find. We're all building a nest egg, right? That's always where we want to be. We can't be rich tomorrow. It takes time to get there. And so I was always too smart. I flipped some houses, did all the bandit signs in the middle of the night, did everything else. It was funny because I was a minority guy with my dad and uncle, and we did a 1,800 acre deal in Sutton County, southeast off of Bond Road, south of Sonora, Texas. And it was an amazing place. I had like 20 grand into it, like not a big deal, right? Anyway, we sold it all, and I was like, man, we got to pay taxes on this. It was a great flip, short-term capital gains. And I was like, how do we build cash flow out of this? Well, and then my dad goes, well, they've been doing owner financing out in way West Texas since dirt was new. I was like, okay. So, right. And the whole dream of $10,000 a month in passive income, right? Oh, you don't have to do anything. Just buy it and owner finance it and get rich. So I went down that rabbit hole, met some folks, things like that, started buying those smaller tracks like you've probably seen all over Kingdom Come. Realized I'd rather shoot myself in the face and deal with those buyers. And so I still do owner financing, and I think that's a great place to start, but not the really cheap garbage stuff. So about 8 years ago, I got real hardcore into with some other guys that were kind of along the same space, that we started doing force appreciation plays, right? Simple subdivides. We would go through the platting process, things like that. Most of what we buy right now is anywhere from 100 to 300 acres. I'm buying a lot in the triangle, just like everybody else, right? In the Texas Triangle. And so what we do is we come in and we turn non-trophy assets into affordable tracks, right? And the reason that we do this is because non-trophy assets are the way that prices have gone up, especially in the state of Texas for dirt, right? You can't make any money as a primary producer of animal husbandry, right? Ranching, farming, things like that. And so all your liquidity, all your worth is into basically dirt that doesn't cash flow. And so you can't raise one family on it, much less multi-generations of families as a primary producer in animal husbandry. So what do they have to do? They have to sell it out. They have to sell it off. Most of these what I call non-trophy assets, which means they don't have live water. They don't have $1 million views over Lake Travis. All these things like the super rich guys out of Austin, Houston, Dallas aren't going to buy, right? We come in and make those non-trophy assets affordable for the everyday person. And a lot of times that's through subdivision, that's through building roads. We usually build roads, we run power, we either run water or we drill water wells. And so, but right now, like a deal I've got in Burleson County, which is just north of Lake Somerville. And you can look that one up. It just hit the market a little while back ago. It's called Opperman Acres. And that's a 130 acre deal that we bought just outside of Somerville, or actually outside of, Somerville, Texas, off of FM 60. But that one we bought that for 1.1 million, and we got half the mineral rights with it. Our exit is about 2.8, hopefully 2.9. And we put about $312,000 into that, meaning roads, power, overhead power. We usually run 2 to 3 phase power, running extension of water lines, and surveying costs. So we also usually use rural banks where we put 20% down. And so our cash on that deal is 240% projected. So that's a $1.4 million in profit. I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, that's just projected. That's being pretty conservative, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So we take non-trophy assets, so we make them affordable. We do a really good job. Here's another thing that all these other guys that they talk about subdividing and everything else, I don't like most of them. And here's the reason why. Most of them have no, they could give two shits whether or not it's a quality product or not. That the people in that county and the people that are going to be living there and the county commissioners, the county judges, and everyone else that you are going to have to work with in this business are going to be happy with your end product. They will build flag lots. They will do whatever it takes not to deal with politics, and they can care less as long as it looks good on a spreadsheet. I believe in legacy, and that's something that I'm fighting with tooth and nail as hard and fast as I possibly can. So anyway, sorry, that's a really long, but that's just there's kind of what I do.
I love it. I love it, man. I know Landra had a couple questions she wanted to ask you, so let's just start off with those and we'll go from there.
I'm here all night.
Thank you, man.
All right, that's a
Yep.
promise. Okay. So you have this deal where your projected profit is 1.4 million, but what was your biggest deal?
The biggest deal, the easiest deal that we did was in 2022. That's another one in Sutton County off of Bond Road. That's BRR Ranches. You can look that up in Sutton County. You can find the plat on that one. We bought that one. That was 3.4 million. We sold it for whatever 1.79 million in profit in 9 months was, whatever that was.
Wow. Okay.
But again, like the times have changed, right? Like that was more recreational parcels. That was 2,242 acres, right? That we bought for 3.4. I'm looking at a deal right now that we're negotiating just west of Waller, Texas, west of Houston there, that I'm paying literally $45,000 an acre for. I'm going to pay the same price for it for like a quarter section that I paid for 2,224 acres, right? It's all relative,
Makes sense.
Yep. Anyone?
So
Nope.
yeah, I got so many questions. I just don't want to make sure I hog it. Oh, look, Cody raised his hand. Let's go with Cody.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor, thanks for coming on, man. This is awesome. I was excited when TJ said that you were coming on. Land is a big, it often comes up with a lot of our folks. A lot of our folks here tonight, they're cold calling on the phones, and we get a lot of times the land, people selling land, and it's always kind of throws the team for a loop a little bit.
Okay.
So my question is kind of two-part. One, you went through a lot right there in your answer. There's so much in there I want to ask, right? You mentioned forced depreciation, the non-trophy assets, and turning them into affordable tracts, and that you don't like, a lot of your competitors subdivides. So
well, not only do I not like them, the counties don't like them, and they make it harder and harder, and they get very upset, and so they're making it more and more expensive to do this. And here's the people that actually lose are the actually legacy landowners that don't get as much, because I know what my costs are, and I'm only going to pay so much, right? That's the unintended consequences that all these people run around half cocked. And we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and answer your questions, but I'm also going to go off on some of y'all too. So don't worry.
Yeah. So with that, what I think might be helpful for some of the team here is, so when you say you don't like some of the competitors subdivides, and you mentioned they'll do flag lots and do anything, like, can you kind of break that down and talk about what it is that differentiates? Because we talk about differentiating ourselves, on calls in another way.
Yep.
I'll try to expand everybody's mind, and how is it that you I mean, you've been doing this since 1920. You know, your family, and now we're here in 2025. That's 100. It's 100-year legacy. So could you kind of speak to what it is that, you know, your philosophy, your approach that makes your subdivide, kind of makes your business different? And I'm hoping to get that into, you know, the team's mind about some of the things that you mentioned that, you know, kind of getting in people's minds, like questions to ask when we start talking to people that we get on the phone for land, if that makes sense. And then there's a whole nother question that I'll ask maybe later after Bagu gets to ask a question.
No worries. So what I do, and this is usually the reason that most people don't do that, is because they are afraid to build roads, right? Because it's expensive. It costs money, right? And also here's another thing that goes on too. Well, as soon as you build a road, and this is how, at least in the state of Texas, as soon as you build a road, you're probably going to have to go through a platting process. Okay. Now you've engaged the county. Most people are afraid to go in front of them because they know they're building shit product. Excuse my French, but it's the truth. Yeah. So this is be willing to spend more to build a better product. And what sets me apart is I embrace the shit sandwich that is the politics and rules and regulations, right? That's the hard one that no one else wants to touch. And that's what sets me apart. And here's the thing about it. In the next year or so, what's really going to set me apart is I'm going to build concrete roads, and we're going to do higher density stuff. And so every time you make it harder or more expensive, you leave everyone else in the dust, right? Because no one has, or they don't have the experience, they don't have the track record, they don't have the team, right? You need to be able to get a hold of, you need to have your own teammates in this deal. And here's what's so cool about this, guys. When it comes to subdividing, and we're going to go back to smaller stuff too, like with land and everything else. When it comes to subdividing, you do not have to be the expert on everything. The buck stops with you, but you have a banker a lot of times, or you got investors, you got appraisals, you have surveyors or engineering firms, you have road construction, you have water utility, power, you have utilities, everything else like this. You have professionals in all facets of what you do. So you're not having to be the quarterback, left tackle, running back, middle linebacker, tight end all at one time. Okay. This is a team sport. If you're going to play in this pool, it takes teams around you, right? That's the difference between you having to be the one and only, right? Here's also the bad thing about this, right? And this is where I'm going to go off on y'all. When you call and you have some poor little old lady that wants to sell 100 acres southeast of Dallas, and she's like, it's worth, I'd like $2 million on it. And you do a bunch of little homework online. You're like, oh, it's worth $3 million. I'll just throw this on 8 million Facebook groups and see if I can get the thing sold. No one buys these cash, kids. Nobody buys these cash. They may say they do, but nobody does. Because it doesn't make any sense as far as a cash on cash rate of return, right? If you don't understand the rules, regs, and everything else like that, leave these big properties alone until you build those teams, right? This is where I come across sellers all the time. They're like, oh, you're going to make me an offer on my property and then not do anything about it?
Yeah.
I'm tired of that shit.
So that's funny that you mentioned that, because we have that exact same response from, you know, sellers that we call on single family houses, right? People call, ask a bunch of information, and don't get any feedback, or don't get a call back, or don't get an offer or anything.
Just don't treat them like a normal human being, right? And here's the thing about it. Most of these, just like your single family homes, but especially with this land, almost everyone's 65 and older, right? Like they are dirt rich and cash poor, almost all of them. And you're going to tell them, oh yeah, I can get you in 90 days. I can get you $2.5 million. If that's what you want, Miss Rose, we can get you that. No problem. You send over a contract, and then you go freaking radio silent on them. Because you just shopped it around to everybody and their dog. You know how many times I get phone calls from people from a lead off of Facebook? No, bro. Like it's garbage, right? They don't understand the basics. And here, I'm going to give you the 3 pillars of everything that we do when it comes to value add. Access first, right? You have to have physical and legal access. Paved road, especially county road frontage, is best. Interstate's a real mother. State highways and farm to markets are a real pain in the ass too, because then they don't like to give as many entrances, right? Next one, water. You have to have water, right? Whether that is groundwater, whether that you're going to build a mud, which we're not going to get into, or you've got rural water lines that you can extend or put taps on. Okay. Last, power. Usually it's not a big deal. We usually do 10 acres and above. So it's usually not a big deal to do overhead power, usually 2 or 3 phase. Depending on who you're working with, whether that's Encore, AEP, the big boys, they can be a real pain in the ass to deal with. And they're going to want engineering and all this other stuff before you can understand what it takes to get the estimate on what it's going to cost you for that project, right? That's a real pain in the ass. A lot of these local co-ops, though, right? The Blue Bonnets of the world, the Southwest Electrics, things like this. They're just good old boys and gals. They don't move very fast, but they're really nice to talk to, and they're usually going to work with you pretty easily. What right now I'm paying anywhere from $12 to $15 a linear foot to run overhead power. That's basically a pretty good number across the state. Roads are completely different depending on where you're at. Out here, in West Texas, where there's caliche and rock everywhere, I'll probably spend 10 to 12 bucks and running a 24-foot wide all-weather road, 3-inch crowning on it. I did that one in Burleson County. They charged me 65 bucks a linear foot. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, 2, 3 or 4, a couple of creek crossings and everything else. You took a sub, half a mile road. Now it's worth $380,000. That's why people don't like. That's why people don't like building roads. Yeah. If you want to get into paved roads, most areas you're going to pay close anywhere from $80 to $100 a linear foot, maybe a little bit more. Curb and gutter are going to be $250 to $325 a linear foot.
Wow, jumps that much with that, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
absolutely. But again, that's high density stuff, right? That's half acre lots, 10,000 square foot. Like that's big boy stuff. I don't even want to mess with that right now.
Yeah. If you could, thank you for that. If you could go back and touch on one thing, I kind of want to tie this in for everybody. Mindset issue, right? Like you said, it's all relative, right? With the prices and everything that you paid back in the day that your folks paid, you know what I mean? $100 a square, an acre or whatever it was. Can you talk about, for people getting into this business right now, or any business, right? You already mentioned your team. So I want everybody to say, like what Trevor mentioned about the team is really key, right? That you don't have to be playing all the positions, right? That's why we've got he's gracious enough to come on tonight. This is an expert in the land acquisition and development. So he's doing acquiring it and improving it, right? Doing that forced appreciation. So for somebody that doesn't, somebody's thinking, man, my family didn't come, my family didn't start 100 years ago, and I can't do that. I don't have my folks didn't, blah, 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 all the limiting mindset stuff. Can you kind of speak to that aspect of it? Like how people could kind of get into it now? Like what would be, like a good operator? You described, kind of bad operations, but like
here's the deal. Like and here's the thing. That's the funny thing about it. Like my dad and uncle still just only do great big deals. Like I don't work with them at all when it comes to these smaller tracks, right? They're like, I don't want to mess with it. And here's the other thing too, is like they only did deals with the money they had in their pocket, right? Very conservative, very like, this is, we'll do one a year, whatever it is, right? Like they both have, my dad's a real estate appraiser and has been for 41 years, right? Like he's also had a day job too. And he's just like, hey man, this pays for all the other shit, right? And so there's levels to it, right? What you really need to do is you need to get educated on this, right? That's something that I have kind of started doing a little bit, but like paying for proximity, whether you like to hear that or not, it's the truth, right? Like I still buy courses and I still join masterminds and I still do all this other stuff all the time. But really the coolest way and the best way to probably do that would to be find someone who is doing, and here's a perfect example, guys. Go to your county recorder in your county, right? Or wherever that may be. And again, I know some of y'all are all over the place and maybe it's a long ways away. Go to either your county recorder or whoever is in charge up there when it comes to allowing subdivisions to come in. Okay. This is where, if you actually do this and follow up on this will change your life. What you're going to do then is you're going to find who has been doing the majority of the subdividing, forced appreciation, things like that in the last year. And it's going to be easy because they're all going to be recorded, right? Recorded through the county. And this may be a phone call, right? Maybe you can get a phone call and you may be like, hey, what are the last 8 subdivisions that have gone in this area, right? You're going to call them and you're going to be like, and they're going to tell you, and then you're going to call them and say, listen, and this is always the deal with if you're just trying to like wholesale or just trying to learn the game, bring a deal, right? But first of all, you're going to reach out to these guys and say, listen, I'm a guerrilla marketer. I'm always finding these deals. I don't know what to do with them. If you can give me kind of your buy box, give or take, whenever I find them, I'm going to bring them to you and we're going to do some business together, right? Like that's because instead of just being out and going, oh, well, I need to do this or I need to do that. Like you're actually talking to people that are actually in the market getting it done, right? I mean, same thing with your flippers or whatever it is, right? But there's not a prop stream or a whatever the hell it is, right? Like this is a whole different ballgame. And so when you reach out to those people, but explain to them that, hey man, I want to bring you deals. And anyone that's in this or any game, right? Like you say, I want to bring you deals. I just need to know what your buy box is. I'm going to be like, yes, 100%. Right? Like, why would I not want you to bring me deals? At me that's daisy chained off of whatever. You're going to only bring me the deals that you say that I want.
Yep. 100%. Thank you for that. So yeah, everybody real quick, I'll make that my last comment or question, but just, tonight, this is just expanding your mind, right? Like Shad mentioned a few weeks ago, one of the team members bought a property creatively based on some of the stuff that she learned being with this company, being with the organization. So what Trevor's talking about, entitlements and forced equity, I know we're throwing a lot of terms around and we can cover some of these terms later on, these real estate terms and everything, but just think expansively. He just gave you a real good nugget about how to talk, if you wanted to get into this business or, just thinking about anything, you're paying for proximity, right? You get next to people that are doing what you want to do and emulate them, right? History doesn't rhyme, but it repeats itself. Success leaves clues. So that just keep everybody, I just want you to keep that in mind because I know we don't normally deal with land and we're talking like a lot of crazy, real estate terms and everything, but just kind of look for the message, read between the lines. He's really laying down a lot of nuggets about kind of how to just expand yourself and be successful. Because again, what we say all the time is nobody, within 10, 15 years, everybody here should be millionaires. Everybody moving up in this company and in life, right? Leveling up, right? And getting into bigger and better things. Like everybody here should be millionaires, creating legacies for ourselves. That's what we're all here for and about. So thanks, Trevor, for that. I really appreciate it, man. It's really good info.
Bagu, you have a question still, sweetie?
I do.
There.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Super amazing. Hi, Trevor. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you
years
for
ago, I ended up learning about tax auctions, and I went to Arkansas to a land auction, and I won a piece of property. I was one of the higher bidders for the property. And I'm really interested in land. And it's 6 acres. So when I got it for I got it for $1,200 during the auction. It doesn't have water. I wrote down some, it has access to the road. And it's just raw. It's just 6 acres. My question for you is I've just been holding it because I don't know what to do with it. So last year, the county asked me if I'd be willing to rent it out for campers and different people. So I've been renting it out through the county that way. But I was wondering if there's a better use or a better, I'm still learning this my way around it because so I'm super happy that you're here, first of all. Like I totally got giddy when I was hearing it. I was like tons of notes. So yeah, so that was my question is like I'm starting to understand that a little bit, but if there's no power on there, but there's access to power because it's close to a road.
Well, here's the deal. This is 2 different things, right? What I was talking about doing, like these are going to average anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 exit prices for what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the value. What you're talking about is a little bit different, and this is the other side of the land game that a lot of people have heard about, right? So the cool thing with this guy is awesome. Almost anything sells if you offer the correct terms to sell it, right? The right price, the right terms, the right down payment, the right interest, everything, right? Like everything sells on terms because you would buy the most expensive house in the world if it was on the right terms, right? Same thing with this cheaper land. There are billions and billions and billions of dollars in equity that is not being touched because most banks will not touch houses, much less land that is sub $100,000. Okay. That's why you will see these awesome properties all over northern Arizona, Texas, Colorado, California, Mississippi, Missouri, all these things that are anywhere from an acre to 40 acres that are 15,000 to 100,000 that'll be on the market for 2 years. And they have access, they have everything like this. But the thing is, there's no liquidity in that cheaper marketplace, right? Because of that, you can buy properties much, much cheaper, right? The thing is, in order for you to dispose of those, you have to offer owner financing on it. I personally know people that make more than 6 figures a month off of notes, off of what people would call kind of crap land, offering owner financing. They buy it 30, 40 cents on the dollar, right? And this is, and again, we're going all over the place, but I think this is your best opportunity, guys. If you come across, especially cheaper land or one way or other, especially lots, stuff like this, that maybe people want, you don't quite understand what, you're not going to build on it one way or other.
Yeah.
But if you can get it at wholesale prices, you need to learn to run a financial calculator, right? So you can understand that if I can come in and buy a $50,000 tract, right? In, outside of, I don't know, anywhere up and down the corridor there, right? You got a 2 acre tract or 5 acre tract or something like this. It's not moving, but you can find it. It's got access, whatever it may be. And it's worth 50, but you can buy it for 25, right? Isn't that where we're coming across? Like we're coming across a lot of these that we don't know what the hell to do with, right? Now, what you need to understand is that your disposition is through owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about it. You have to learn how to run your financial calculator to understand yield and the best opportunity there is. And I'm going to hire somebody, and maybe one of y'all can help me on this stuff or one way or other. I want to turn my buy and hold house guys into note investors. I want those guys that normally, or maybe somebody that you work with, right? They got $25,000 in an IRA, right? Self-directed IRA, and you can show them, hey, listen, I can pay you $300 a month. We're going to owner finance this deal. We're going to get $5,000 down on the thing, right? 10% down, and we're going to charge them 12% interest. I'm going to make $300 a month. You're going to make $300 a month. You're going to get a 10% rate of return on your capital, right? Now, you just brought an investor with you, right? But the cool thing is that they don't have to have a bank. They don't have to have $500,000 liquid. They don't have to have any of that stuff, right? This is micro lending. You are helping people do micro lending to end buyers. And here's the cool part with that. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, here's the cool part with that is once you do that a few times, right? Then you're able to come across and actually build cash flow off of these particular deals. And this is what I'm doing right now. I am buying a bunch of these with guys for 1 year, potentially 2 years. I'm giving them 10% interest, right? They got money. Literally, I had a guy call me today, one of my buddies. He's like, dude, I don't even know what the hell you did. And I was like, I'm really bad at letting people know what I do. Anyway, but he's like got 50 grand that his dad gave him, right? Whenever he died. He's like, I don't know what to do with it. He's like, I'll give you 10% on it. I just bought a deal in Southeast Colorado. That's worth, I paid myself $5 grand to find it. But the thing is it's worth, I think probably 95, right? But I sell it on terms. I'm going to give him 10% rate of return on his money. I'm actually going to take the down payment on it, right? So I'm going to make 15 on it. But here's the key to this. And this is something that you can all figure out. There are a lot of banks that will not lend on a single note, right? There are also a lot of banks that will lend on a whole bunch of notes. Right? So you don't have to have, if you can raise $500,000, which is not that hard. Shad knows that. TJ knows that, right? Like if you have really good deals and you can say, hey, listen, I got this purchase agreement sale, right? Purchase deal. I think it's worth 50. I got it for 25, right? Worst thing that happens is I really screw up and you can keep it or whatever the hell it is, right? It's digestible. It's easy, right? It's all cash deal, no banker, no whatever. They keep first lien position on it, right? You own it. You're in your own LLC. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm raising as much money as I possibly can because I've got a bank that will then take it and hypothecate all those into long-term financing. So what that means, fancy word, banks don't want to lend on one note, especially on stuff, kind of all over the place. But the cool thing is that's the difference between having a single note and having a whole bunch of them is it diversifies your risk through location and through asset class, right? Pricing, things like that. Now you have a business that is a lendable product, right? This is something that I wish everyone would do, and you can because the market is massive in that, right? Everyone wants to talk sexy, blah, 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 whatever. If it's up to me, I like doing subdivides. I like doing forced appreciation. It's so much fun talking to the freaking county attorneys. Like I literally had to school them on some new house bills that were passed in September, right? Like he was like, hey, he called me and was like, dude, you have an illegal subdivision. I was like, no, I do not. And he's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. So we went through the whole deal. 2 days later, I get an email with him and the county judge on there. He goes, yep, we're good to go. Right? That's not fun. It's not. But like if I could raise $10 million today, put them in this stuff, right? Where I'm buying them assets 50 cents on the dollar. I'm owner financing them, right? Long term. And then being able to either package those and sell those off to your potential note buyers, which you all have in your cities, or more importantly, be able to find a long-term debt coverage ratio kind of loan, right? Like we're actually using a commercial loan. It's still not going to be for the entire term of them. That's the real bitch. Most of them are only going to do 5 years for you, but they will do that on a 20-year amortization schedule, and your cash flow is going to be really good, right? So, and again, I'm all over the place, and I apologize for that, but like there's so much untapped. And that's what I want to talk about this one. Like this particular property that you have, I don't know what the market price is for that particular property, but you can get 110, 115% of market value offering the right terms, and you got into it at a really good price. Obviously, if you want to keep renting it out and letting other people do it, but there's always a buyer for someone for any piece of dirt, house, whatever it is, as long as you offer the terms that make sense to them, and you'll find out what that is.
Trevor, one quick question for the part that you said, the banks, if you get several notes and then, you bundle them together. Is one of the strategies basically to bring in like private money, get the properties, get them under contract, buy them, do seller finance, sell them, and then you got all these notes and then go and you're maybe at 12 or 15% on your private money. Then you go to the bank and get what, like 8, 9, 10?
8% right now. That's what I was quoted a couple days ago.
So how many, just ballpark, I mean, I know every situation will be different, but like, what are we talking here? 5 properties, 10, 20, 100? Like how many?
Depends on actually, I mean, it depends on your asset class, right? Like, usually they want a minimum of 300 to 500,000, right? Like that's kind of the minimum that they want to play with. But usually you're going to be able to, again, and I haven't talked to all the banks. I don't know all the stuff, right? Like I'm not pretending like I do, but most of them are, and again, but I also have kind of a track record. I think the minimum that they wanted was 5.
So it's not so much the number of deals there, it's the amount.
It's also the quality of the assets, right? Because they're going to get a BPO on all of them.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? And again, that's the hard part. Again, if you're using better properties, right, that's closer to civilization, right?
Yeah.
It may be a little harder to do it on, a $5,000 property compared to a $50 or $60 or $70 or $80,000 property. But I still think that is, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, right? Like, and that's another thing that you can do, because I actually had a guy that just bought 2 of my notes that I've had in a tranche that bought them away from me. And he was like, man, how do I get, his whole hang up was like, well, if I use all your money, if I spend all this money, and he's cutting 14% coupons, dude. Like poor bastard, right? Like, oh, well. And he's at 72% loan to value. Like, I'm like, dude, well, get over yourself. But like, he was like, well, what if I need some money? What if I come across a great deal? I was like, I set him up with a local bank. That's another thing. Always find a local bank. Wells Fargo, Chase, bank, all this other stuff. They'll never look at you. Never, ever, ever, ever. If you can't find a bank that you can't talk to the CEO or one of the 12 vice presidents directly, don't talk to them. Right? This is, and the first one that tells you no, go to the next one. Banks like underwear, dude. You know that, right? Like they love you until they don't. But anyway, what we were talking about, he's like, yeah, our banker here, he was like, yeah, I'll give you 80% on a line of credit, up to 80% of the par on the UPB as a line of credit if the best deal ever comes out, right? And I've got one of my investors that does that all the time. Almost all the subdivisions that we do, instead of getting paid, he takes a track himself, cash out. Because then what he does is he's like, I know that stuff is going to keep ahead of inflation every single time.
Yeah.
And then he gets lines of credit on all of them.
So that's like when a subdivision is getting built because that land is getting infinitely more valuable as they build and sell. Yeah,
absolutely.
So quick question. I know we got some other people in the audience that have questions here too, but it sounds like there's it's not just a land play, it's also a note play, that you're doing. You're kind of coupled the two together.
100%. And that's the whole goal, Shad. And that's where I'm talking to some big money guys, right? And this is to be able to find it as a large piece, subdivide it, sell it, right? And you can sell it to yourself 2 or 3 different times and hold that long-term paper, control that all the way through, because who knows that product better than me? I built that.
Yeah. But Trevor, did you work your way up? Did you start with like infill lots and then small lots and then now?
I never did infill lots. Actually, I say that I bought and sold 3 lots way back in the day around Lake Como there outside of Fort Worth. That was just kind of a random ass deal. I wish I would have kept them because they're worth 12 times what I freaking bought them and sold them for. I bought them for like $6,000 a pop, and they're like selling for 80 or 90 now. I was just like, what an idiot, The infill lot game is a finite game. is a finite game, right? I don't build more land. Land is a finite game itself, but I build
Right.
more APN numbers so I can
Yeah.
build more product, right? The infill game is a tough one in my opinion.
the
I will
reason
tell you what I
asked-
have done on a couple of these subdivisions. I have taken less on the money down, and what I did is I did a land contract with a builders on a couple of these properties that like needed to kind of get moving, with builders saying, hey, you know, I'll take a couple grand off an acre so that I'm saving them 20,000-30,000 bucks, but I put it under contract and they built houses on them, and then I sold them at the dirt as is, right? And whenever they actually close the house, right? No, you know, that's another kind of way of doing that, and I guess that's a potential play with the infill game.
Yeah.
But I just haven't ever really
The
messed
reason
with it.
I ask is because like
I don't-
we don't actually go after the land, but after today, you know, TJ and myself, like our team will connect with you and we'll start pulling. There's a guy in here, Daniel Cano. He's doing some of that, and then we got some other people that are interested in it. And again, thank you for showing up tonight
man.
and dropping all these, you know, knowledge on us here. But we call on single family residential, and then we end up with infill lots a lot of the time. Every once in a while, and I'll connect with you on this. I have like 15,000 acres in California, outside of Carson, and then we get like, so it's either like infill or like they have like a city, because like we have a lady that owns like 700 acres in Georgia and another 500 in Florida, but these are out in the middle of like nowhere basically, right? So I don't know what to do with those, but specifically on infill, because they'll get way more of that. Just we stumble upon them and we haven't been successful. Like the rule that we kind of operate off of, which doesn't seem to be a very good rule, is builders want to be at like 20% max of like what the ARV would be in the area. But even when we come in at 10% of ARV, like we can't find, part of that is obviously we need a bigger buyer's base of builders. Probably that's our number one problem. I would assume. But what is the rule of thumb there, and what advice do you have on infill?
No, that's exactly 15 to 20% is going to be your price. Like for infill, that's almost what every builder is going to want, right? Obviously, they're going to want it even cheaper than that. It's just the way it is. But yeah, you need to. Here's the deal. If you've talked to any of these guys, you know how expensive it is for them labor right now, right? And high interest rates and everything else like that. They're all running scared.
Yeah. Now is not a great time to be building. Yeah.
No. I think it's a fantastic time if you can find something out of town a little ways, right? So you can find a 5 or a 10 acre or something like this that has some sort of utilities to it.
Yeah.
The mobile home game, like financeable mobile home game, is a great way. I have not done this. I'm looking at one outside of Florence, Arizona that a buddy of mine's got, that he bought the dirt. We're looking at that, but that's something I have not done. I know people that have done unbelievably well, especially in the Southeast, like Georgia, Florida, things like that have done that on the mobile side and have knocked it out of the damn park. I have not done it. Right. So that's, you know, you take a 5 acre, you turn them into 1 acre lots. Right. But now you can buy a mobile home, especially buy 5 of them. You can get them for 150. It's a 3-2, brand new, financeable. Right. Plus you're going to put in another $10,000 to $15,000, you know, especially if you already have water, right, with a pad, with everything else like that, getting them tie downs, everything else. You're selling that for $300 and $350, being the cheapest, good quality product that is out there.
Yeah.
Again, I have not done it. I'm not telling you that I have, right? But I've got plenty of friends that have.
No, I've heard good things. Like there's several of us that know some people that are doing that in sub 2. You're not in sub 2, right?
No, sir. I know who he is, but I'm anyway.
Hey, you're at it on a different level. You don't need to go down where we are. You know, we're trying to catch up.
Dude, no way, man. No way. Everyone's providing value, man. That's for sure.
I appreciate you coming out. Graham, did you have a question or?
I did, yes. I'm thinking buying land with an option and then doing the creative finance. What sort of level would that make sense? Well, put flesh on the
explain it to me.
Yeah, so say I see a piece of land, I talk to the seller and buy it with an option. So I have the right to buy that land for a certain price, say 12 months. Now I
Yep.
then go and do creative finance, or advertise it creative finance, maybe a few buyers, got a few buyers in mind. What sort of, can you put some flesh on the bone? How big a land would that make sense for? Or
I would only do an option. I would only do an option if you're going to have some sort of value added to it. I would not. Why would you want to put an option and then try to get funny with it? Here, if you want to do owner financing and negotiate a lower owner financing and then wholesale those terms, you can do it. Same thing with a house or whatever, right? Like there's lots of options that you can do that. So what I would do is I would actually buy that, right, in my own LLC, being creative or whatever you want, put it under contract as this much terms or whatever you want to. An option is only used because you're going to actually close on the thing, right? An option is used whenever you have a builder, you're a solar company, you're doing your due diligence, right? Like this is, because you got to talk to whether you need a property annexed, whether you got to get it rezoned, all these other things like that, right? The D.R. Hortons of the world, the Lennars, the things like that. That's what I consider an option, right? Because you're going to use your due diligence. What I would do is I would negotiate the best price you possibly can at the best terms, and then wholesale that, sell that out, do whatever you want to. And here's the thing that you can do, guys: buy the LLC. And again, we all know this, right? Your boy Pace, he always talks about get the deed, right? He thinks that he was the first guy that would be like, oh yeah, you can just sign a deed over, right? Like, no, we've been doing that shit for a long time. Get the deed, put it in the LLC, have control over whatever you want to do on the X side, on the back side, right? Whether you sell that LLC for a certain percentage, right? This is also a great opportunity. If you're really good at negotiating, you're really good at getting terms, you control that in your new Shed or Graham LLC. You can sell those terms. You can sell whatever you want to and explain to the new, whoever it is. There's lots of different ways of doing that for sure. I would not do an option personally.
thank you.
Get the deed if you can, right?
Yeah,
That's the whole point.
Pace says the same thing about with single family as well, Graham. You want to be the option or not the option E or the other way.
100%.
So
100%. Another thing, you need to be part of a lot of this stuff, but like joint ventures with landowners, right? That's something that last 2 or 3 years, especially in the state of Texas, all you had to do was post it online and the thing sold, right? Super low interest rates, even $2, $3, $4 million places. All that has slowed down considerably. There's a lot of these folks that went, oh shit, we missed the bus, right? If you have your team around you, there's ways, right, that you can do joint ventures. A lot of D.R. Hortons, the big boys, like the biggest of the big boys, also do joint ventures with all kinds of landowners as well. Make sure you have the team around you before you go popping off.
Very cool. Very cool. I know Diana had a question real quick for you. Diana, you still there?
Yeah. So hey Trevor, thank you for jumping on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I had a question about like underwriting. When it comes to land, I know I heard you mention the different things that you need to be on the lookout for. But what are the things that you consider when underwriting those? Because sometimes you come across land and it's for like new build, single family, and then for example, myself, I go comp like the new builds in the area and then see on Zillow how much the lot was bought for recently. So what's kind of your underwriting methods when it comes to land?
I've got a giant spreadsheet that I work on all that stuff, right? But really, to be honest with you, like all I do all day long is I just sit here going pros and cons. What it's going to cost me, what my return is going to be, right? And to be honest with you, when it comes to that, that's where you need to lean on a lot of these professional brokers in those areas that do this product in and out all the time, right? You need to talk to them about what what the exit prices are, where they're going to be at that, or more importantly, you need to talk to the actual builders like we talked about at the very beginning of the call and find out what they're going to do. Don't guess at this shit. Know what the hell your buyer is going to buy it at, right? That's the key. Because now you can talk to them, and that's another thing too. A lot of these guys will help you. Hey, how much is this going to come? Like, how much are you going to pay for the road? How much is this going to cost? They'll give you those same kind of numbers that I kind of gave you, but they'll have like the knocked down to the T, right? Because this is what they do all day long, every day, right? They've got it, that shit on, tight, right? Because they've got millions and millions of dollars that may take 3 years to even before they can even sell a lot. Plus, they got 40 employees, everything else. They don't mess around with that stuff. Talk to them or find a representative for them that will kind of help you as far as the exit price, right? Most of these guys will be able to tell you pretty quick, hey, we need these at $40,000 a piece per lot to sell to builders, right? Or $50,000 or whatever that is. You take a certain amount, right? You take a certain amount of acreages, right? You're going to lose a certain percentage of it, right? Hey, in this part of the world, I need 26 feet, right? To build a road. I'm going to build this. I can't cul-de-sac it. I'm going to have to make a U-turn. You start calculating. Then you're losing that much acreage, right? And so all you're doing is this is the ultimate when it comes to creativity, right? Development is the ultimate art. Like, I can't sing, I can't dance. Well, I can dance pretty good, but like, I can't sing, I can't draw, can't do anything like that. But like, this is my art, right? That's why with my engineers and my survey guys, I work with the same guys almost all the time. And it's funny because Gary, who's my guy, he's a young guy. And he's like, all right, what are we doing here today? And we will spend all day walking land. And we'll talk about, hey, pros and cons, what's here, what's there, why here, what's there, right? Like things like that. Because we understand the utilization of it. We understand there's a million different things there. And I wish I could give you a quick formula, right? But there's not one. You need to figure out who's the pro in your area and then just have the guts to go talk to them.
I got you.
And here's the thing about it. Most people don't. Most people won't. And guess what? You're literally raising your hand and saying, I am doing guerrilla marketing. I want to bring you deal flow. If they tell you to kick rocks, they're idiots.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I wish I had a little more specific answer.
No, that was good. That was good. Thank you so much.
Trevor, thank you so much, man. We're getting close to the end of time here. Anyone else with any questions before we wrap it up? And also shout out to DQ for coming in today, man. Really appreciate you coming here. Any other questions before we kind of wrap up tonight?
I have one. That's okay.
Go
Can you
for
hear
it.
me? So I'm curious about something. What do you think about, where I live here in Northern California, it's burnt. There's used to be a mobile home park that was burnt and it got burnt down. What are some of your just general ideas about land that's been burned because of the forest, and then it's starting to come back, but just ideas about that? I wanted to ask you.
Usually we're going to take a 40 to 50%. The same thing with like recently clear cut, right? We take valuations at 40 to 50% of what we think market value is. But the real value in that one is going to be your zoning, I believe. I don't know what California and things like that, right? If you've already got a mobile home zoning on that, I'd freaking roll. That's where that's the value, right? That's the highest and best for that particular parcel.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Gordon?
Hey man, yeah, I came in a little late. Thanks for doing this. I have a quick questions about. I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So I mostly deal with on-market deals. I'm doing a lot of wholesaling with agents, and so that's kind of like my wheelhouse, right? So I came across one today that was pitched to me from one of my JV partners, and it was just a piece of land, and I was like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. And then just so happened that Sean's like, hey, hop in this Zoom. We're talking about land, and I'm like, oh man, great. So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. If I can lock up that piece of land on terms and it's already developed, it's just one piece, it's like 10,000 square feet or so.
Okay.
That's already in a subdivision. It's like next to some water, like a lake or something, it looks like. And what happened was it was a couple that was going to build a house. Now they're getting divorced, so the house isn't happening. So I already have a go ahead that they want a creative offer from me. If I can lock up that on some sweet terms, then do I turn around and find a partner in the area who already builds and then sell that piece off to them? Is that the exit?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really broad question for a very specific 10,000 square feet of dirt. You know what I mean? Like it really just is going to, I don't know what the demand is. I don't know what the, you know what I mean? Like what's the price point of it?
200.
200 grand. What's that? What's the houses worth out there? Right? Like what are they selling for?
Yeah, I think they're in the 400 range. I mean, I just briefly took a glance at it. I didn't really.
Yeah. That's pretty expensive. That's pretty expensive. There's not a whole lot of room on that.
Yeah, I mean, I could negotiate it down. I mean, I'm sure I haven't spoken to the agent yet on it, but I'm just trying to figure out the model, regardless of the price. I'm trying to figure out the model first, right? So you're suggesting lock it up on low terms and then turn around and try to partner with a reputable builder in the area. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the deal. You know what Graham was talking about, at least what I understood, it was more of a recreational usage or a residential usage. You know, that they can do whatever they wanted to eventually on it, right? And you're still gonna have to get it at the right price per se, because I mean, what's the exit of the deal, right? That's what you're always going to be thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Because are you going to then come in and say, hey, this guy's going to build a $150,000 worth of dirt or of a house, right? And then, like, I don't know, you got to make sure that there's room for you one way or other. Right.
And you were saying
whenever it
20%,
comes to the exit on that shit.
And you were saying try to get it at 20% because that's sort of the sweet spot around the 20% mark.
That's what everything I've seen, anywhere 15 to 20% of your exit price for the single family home.
But that's what the builder will pay as a max of 20, right, Trevor? Like unless it's like Beverly Hills, like Gordon.
Yeah. Or and again, I'm not saying like we're using broad strokes here, kids, right? Like this is not there may be certain areas that may be a hell of a deal. Talking to you right now, it seems like they're out of their freaking gourd.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Because again, they're still going to get paid. I mean, if they're going to do a 30-year or whatever, but the thing is they're still going to get paid out because there's going to be someone else that's going to come in and buy the thing. What I was explaining on mine, the reason I do mine, I buy it for 10. I've got it for sale for 25 an acre, right? Mm-hmm. So I bought it that's worth 100. Now it's worth 250 or whatever it is. I'd sell it at 220 on terms to my builder.
Right.
So I'm going to save him a little bit of money where he doesn't have to come out a bunch of money out of his pocket, right?
Yeah.
The only hard part that we have is some of those banks will not subordinate wherever I've still got the first lien position on it, right? If they're going to build a house on that some bitch, he's going to use leverage. And if you find a good one, it's great. But now you're talking about first and second liens and everything else like that.
So your model, you're suggesting you're only picking up deals where you can make 100% or more on it.
That's my goal every single day that I wake up.
That's the big boys. I remember Trevor. I talked to this other guy, Daniel. He does good amount of land, and he said the same thing. Like Gordon, what I'm picking up is when these guys start getting into development and stuff like that. Like they're not doing $5,000-$10,000 deals. It's not worth it because
it's not worth it. The risk and the stress and the headaches. I mean, fuck you. Like no, I'd shoot myself.
So unless I could sell that to a developer for 400, there's no point in even doing it because otherwise, what's the point?
I'm not telling you that it's not a deal, but it's not a deal.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. I just wanted to see if it's worth even going down that road.
How much land is it, Gordon? How much?
Like 10,000 square feet. Looks like something.
10,000 square feet. So it's an infill lot.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah. So what he needs, so Trevor, because like not everybody, like including us, we're not graduated to the point where we're doing, $1 million deals yet. Or even $100,000 land deals yet, right? So, but what we do get is what Gordon's talking about, and this is what I was saying a minute ago. We get a lot of this. Our industry, we get a shit ton of these infill lot. Like I got 2 little lots here. I got 1 little lot here. How big is it? 7,500 square feet, 10,000 square feet, you know, just enough to put one single family home. If he had a bigger buyer's base of, because there's a group of people out there, they're not KB and they're not ready for subdivisions. They're just a contractor that's really advanced and they could do a ground up construction, and they build those, right? I cut out that.
100%.
Apparently my internet's not fixed yet, but there's guys out. We just got to go find them, right? Because they're looking for this. I would imagine, yeah.
Dude, yeah, for sure, 100%. And here's the thing about it: like, those are the guys that you want to, that you know, they may be a roofer or a carpenter or whatever throughout their day job, right? They may be a sub working for somebody else, but they want that opportunity. So, Gordon, like, there is a way, and that's a way of doing that, where you can be like, hey, I'm going to buy it at 10 or 15 or whatever the hell it is, right? And I'm going to find these guys and say, hey, I'll owner finance it to you short term, right? Until that thing gets built. I'll owner finance it to you for, you know, a year or whatever the hell it is at 40 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a number there.
Yeah.
Because again, if they don't have to come out of pocket to buy the dirt themselves, if they can come in and build it and improve that deal, it's a harder road to hoe, to be honest with you. Like, finding those guys. But again, you know, 2 or 3 deals a year for them, they may change their entire life by being able to find a couple of these deals, right?
Do you find that there are builders that are interested in doing a profit split where you can front them the land at some really low cost, or maybe even just say, I'll front you the land, and once you build, we do a profit share on the back end? Is that a thing?
That's what I was talking about at the beginning. That's what I do with some of these lots, right? That are the, you know, to get stuff going in that particular subdivision that I built. I'll do that all day long, but it's not a profit share. I will owner finance it to them at really good returns, right? I'll get a certain price, but I'll be like, give me $1,000, right? And then whenever this thing sells, I make my money, you make more money, but I'm still locking in my profit. And all he's doing is improving my property. I'll do that all day long.
Got it.
Well, take it one step further. I'm going to piggyback off of Gordon's idea here, or his question. You're familiar with novations, yeah? With like a single family?
Yep.
Is there a place for us as wholesalers to come in and novate between a landowner and a builder, and then somehow get paid? Have you seen that?
I would still see, that's the bitch about novations, right? Like, I would still try to get the deed, right? Or do, like, you know, everyone now calls this fancy installment method, right? And all this shit that they're talking about. It's just a land contract, dude. That's all it is. Does everyone know what a land contract is? Yes?
Yeah, most of the audience here does, yeah.
Okay. Well, so you are on title, but you're not on the deed, right?
Right.
But that gives you some real power that no one's going to try to do anything goofy. That's what I would do versus a novation. Would be what I'm at. Like, right now, I'm talking to, like, I have cold callers too, right? That we call big 100+ acre tracts. You know what I mean? I build long-term relationships. I'm farming all the time, right? Slow drip. Hey, I'm some dipshit in Texas, right? Like West Texas, but I'm a nice guy. I'll take care of you, you know, things like that. Because, you know, 1 or 2 of these a year, and I'm okay. But yeah, no, I think there's a 100% way to do that. The thing is, right now, when you've got these builders that don't want to buy this kind of, like, try to find something that you can at least add some sort of value to, right? You know what I mean? Like, even if it's a 5 to turn them into 1 acres, things like that. Like the infill lots, man. I don't know. I mean, there are ways. Like I said, I don't mess with infill lots. I bought 3 of them, made like 10 grand a pop on them, and never did any more after that.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Sorry, I wish I had a little better answer for you.
No, it's good. It's plenty, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Trevor, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like you answered all our questions at this moment. I got a million more coming through, but you know, we don't have all that time in a night. But thank you again for showing up, guys. Let's give him some love. I'm dropping his link to his YouTube. Please subscribe to him. Give him some love if you can. Appreciate all y'all showing up today. Great questions tonight, guys.
Yeah,
DQ, always a
TJ,
pleasure, man.
I'm cool with coming back on or doing whatever I can help with, right?
I
Like
was already
reach
gonna
out to
ask you,
me.
man.
Yeah, no, reach out to me. Like I said, this is again, there's plenty enough for everybody, right? Like if you think that this abundance mindset is a real deal, right? I will also be having I just opened up a school deal. I've taught before, but it's always been under kind of some other folks that I'll have a full free course as far as more of like the smaller stuff. I don't, again, one way or other. So I'll have that, and that'll be completely free on that too. So
Do you have any links?
I'm
or
working
anything
on
for
that, building those
Still working
values,
it? Okay,
building those videos.
very cool.
Wow,
Very cool.
That'd be amazing. Heck yeah.
Well, thank you again so much. We really appreciate it. Gordon, thank you for coming on for your first time. I think Manuel, appreciate coming your first time here. We really thank you. DQ, I think you've been around, so just appreciate you being around. But anyway, thanks guys, everyone. Y'all have a good one tonight. We'll see y'all next time. Trevor, appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Trevor. Thanks, guys. Thanks, CJ. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Thanks.